hot drinks for sub-zero strikes. Trying to keep warm on the Preston picket line, some of the nurses taking action across England today. A tough decision, they say, not least because they lose wages by being here.
What do we want? Safe staffing! When do we want it? Now!
Alex may be leading the chant, but says signing the form to go on strike was sickening.
It was painful, physically painful. When I was marking the paper, it was a sick feeling that I got. It was physically the feeling of about to be sick, yes. It was not a nice sensation.
Very, very hard, very hard. You're fighting with your morals and your own sort of yourself, but then your nurse is to look after people, aren't you? Because it's a caring profession. But from comments from the government and things like that, we really feel that we're not being listened to.
Still a mum as well as a nurse. I'm a mum and I've got children that I want to give everything to, and if my wage continues to stay the same and doesn't rise with inflation, how can I provide for my children? How can I pay my mortgages? How can I feed my kids? As dramatic as it sounds, but there's nurses going to food banks.
The message here is pay and safety. The claim that it's getting tougher to recruit and retain nurses, stretching the system. That echoed on a London picket line by one nurse with almost 50 years' experience.
I am here because I am worried about who will nurse me when I am, needing the care. Because right now, I can't give the care that I want to give. And it's very, very frustrating.
And frustration for patients like Andy Macklin, whose kidney cancer radiology appointment was cancelled by the strike, but who still supports the nurses.
They deserve the money. They desperately deserve the money. We can't carry on like we're carrying on. But in the meantime, I'm afraid, people like me and many others are suffering.
And things aren't about to get any better, because today more ambulance strikes were announced for England and Wales, and one will coincide with a nurses' strike on the 6th of February.
GMB members working right across the ambulance services are absolutely frustrated that not only have they already been forced into taking 2 days of industrial action, they're now in a position of having to serve more notice so that this government starts to take them seriously.
The government says it wants to work with unions to improve the NHS. But until some common ground can be established on pay, this winter of walkouts will continue.
Well, Peter is still at a very noisy picket line in Preston. We can speak to him now. Peter, so you've spoken a lot to people striking. We've heard a lot from them. Have we heard from the government, though?
Yeah, hi. Well, one of the government's repeated lines on this, of course, is it's all about balance. They say that pay rises fuel inflation, and that just makes the cycle worse. Just before we came on air, we heard from the Health Secretary.
We need to get that inflation down, engage with the pay review body process, work constructively together. That was the spirit that we had discussions last week, but the right approach is to use the pay review body process this coming year in terms of looking what is affordable, both for the NHS but to the wider economy.
So that is the very latest line from the government on the day that one union boss said when it comes to negotiations, they are getting nothing from the cold, dead hands of number 10 and number 11 Downing Street.
OK, Peter from Preston, we'll be back to you later, but for now, thank you. So another day, another round of strikes announced. Let's bring out our strikes calendar to see how that affects things. Bear with me, we've got a lot to go through. First up, all the NHS walkouts are in blue, with ambulance strikes next week on the 23rd. That's in the West Midlands, and then again on the 24th, but this will be in the North West. Bus drivers in London, they're walking out over the next 8 days. We've marked that in red. And the teacher strikes in Scotland, that continues for another 2 weeks into February. We've put that in purple. And teachers in England and Wales, they're going to join them on the 1st of February. And that will be for the first of 7 days of walkouts throughout February and going on into March. And if you are trying to maybe find something to occupy your kids that day, you might struggle, because train drivers are also going on strike, as well as over 100,000 civil servants. And that's going to affect things like museums, ports and airports and driving test centres. Then we've also added those new dates which were announced today by members of the Ambulance and 999 Corps Handlers Union, which is taking place on the 26th and the 20th of the month. And then, gosh, there will be 2 more in March. So quite a few more strikes heading our way.